prayer. And hold on one second. I think we have another mayor in house who will lead us in prayer today.
North Chadbourn. North Chadbourn. Woo.
Bow with me, if you would, for a moment of prayer. Our God and our Father, hallowed be thy precious name. We thank you, Father, for this another day on time's side of eternity, and we thank you for the opportunities that you had given. And we thank you, Father, that we were able to meet in this governing assembly this morning, and we ask that you would bless everything that happens. We pray for the Concho Valley, Father, and for the wonderful city of San Angelo that you have allowed us to live and grow and to raise our children in this perfect little spot in your vast creation. And we ask that you bless us and bless every one of the citizens that contribute every day to the welfare of our community. Jesus told us to bless you by loving you and obeying you first and by loving our neighbor as ourselves. And this is what I ask for our entire community. And we ask you to bless us, Father. We ask you to bless us from the ravages of nature that destroy and maim and kill. And we ask you to bless us, Father, from the riots and the hatred and the discriminations that have destroyed so many cities in our nation. Throw your strong arm of protection around the Concho Valley, Father, and protect us. We thank you for the rains that you have sent and the rains that you will continue to send. Send your gentle rains, Father, that our lakes and our streams and our wells might be replenished and that the balance of nature might be maintained in our wonderful community. And I pray for these council members, Father. I pray that you would allot each and every one of them with a measure of wisdom and patience and strength and courage and humility, so that the decisions they make, Father, may be the very best for you and also for the community that they govern. Be with us, Father. Love us and forgive us. Help us, guide us, guard us, and direct us. It's in the name of Jesus that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Kaylee, would you please come forward? She is in the second grade. She's from Glenmore, and she's the daughter of Jennifer, who is a MPO employee. So we're going to turn. We're going to put our hand, and you're going to lead us.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
This morning, our proclamations start with February being a Spay-Neuter Awareness Month, and February 28th as World Spay Day. The city of San Angelo's, oh wait, who's here from Morgan and Group, please come up. The City of San Angelo's Animal Shelter has set a goal of becoming a no-kill facility at which no adoptable animal is euthanized. And San Angelo suffers from a pet overpopulation problem that results in too many unwanted dogs and cats, too many of which must be put down. And San Angelo cannot adopt its way out of the overpopulation problem, but must embrace a culture of spaying and neutering pets as required by 2015 city ordinance. And altered pets live longer and healthier lives, are less likely to suffer from cancer and other serious illnesses, and are better behaved companions more focused on their human family. And sterilizing pets saves taxpayers nationwide $2 billion annually from being spent impounding, sheltering, and euthanizing homeless animals. Therefore, I, Brenda Gunter, Mayor of the City of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim February 2018 as Spay Neuter Awareness Month and Wednesday, February 28th, as World Spay Day in San Angelo, Texas, and call upon all San Angelo pet owners to spay and neuter their cats and dogs in an effort to improve our animal companions' quality of life and prevent unwanted litters from being placed in our taxpayer-supported animal shelter. In witness whereof I have hereunto you set my hand and have caused the official seal of the City of San Angelo to be affixed this 6th day of February.
Thank you so much, y'all, for this recognition today. It's really important that to notice that we are having a tremendous investment of staff time, volunteer time here at the animal shelter. I think it's a really exciting time for homeless pets in San Angelo. We are on the cusp of some really great things happening, and I'm grateful for the time to be able to share that with all y'all.
We would ask that anybody who has not double-checked to make sure your cell phone is turned off to please do so at this point. We will go into public comment. Issues or items that are not on the agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, begin by stating their name, and limit remarks to less than 3 minutes. Council members may request that a discussed item be placed on a future agenda. The council takes public comment on all regular agenda items during the discussion of those items. Do we have any public comment this morning? With no public comment, we will move into our consent agenda. I'm going to ask if anyone on the city council has an item they'd like to pull off the consent agenda. I'm going to start with Lucy.
No, ma'am.
Lane?
Nothing.
Billy?
Item F.
F? Okay. Harry?
No.
Tom? Tommy?
No, ma'am.
Okay. With that, we are going to pull item F off of the agenda, which is consider ratifying COSA DC's approval of the termination and release of performance agreement with Data Management, Inc., DBA Time Clock Plus. I'm going to first ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item F.
I make the motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of F.
Thanks, Billy. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the consent agenda with the exception of F, please say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, passes 7-0. So we will now do item F. Roland, you're on.
Good morning, Mayor, members of the City Council. This item is submitted in ratification for COSA DC approval to terminate and release Time Clock Plus from the performance agreement. This comes at their request. You may have seen the letter submitted by Ernie Neighbors. As I explained to the Board of Directors for COSA DC, this was at their request, and it seemed to be more a matter of principle. So they had a very good year this year, and they felt that the funds could be utilized by the city and COSA DC to help perhaps businesses that need the assistance. In this case, they felt that they wanted to return the funds back to the city.
Roland, thank you. I just wanted that to be on record in a little bit more detail. I read the underlying document, and it seems that this is a little bit unusual for, an organization to return funds that they feel can be utilized somewhere else because, at this point, they, felt like they, were able to sustain their own. So I'm excited about this. I know they were recognized recently citywide. So I think this is a good thing to do, and maybe others will take note. So thank you so much for sharing that, but I wanted to hear a little bit more about it on record. Thank you.
Do I have any questions from, yes, Harry?
Just a real quick comment. I spoke with Scott Turner last week. Scott is the vice president out of Time Clock Plus, and he assured me that it was not because they were planning on doing anything else or moving away from the city. They really believe that San Angelo is really in their backyard and helping them out very much. It's a philosophy differential between the new president and the owner as opposed to the previous president, and that's one of the things that they thought. They're doing so well in San Angelo right now, they just feel like that someone else could utilize those dollars to expand their business and do that. So they want to be a great partner with San Angelo, and they intend to stay here, but they have room to grow in that building for about 2 or 3 more years.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion to accept? Oh, sorry, Steve, please come forward. Didn't see you stand up.
Thank you, Steve Hampton. I had 2 questions. How long did they have the money? And the second is, were there any tax credits extended to them? Are they returning that? They broke the contract. I just wondered what
Roland,
the
would you please
situation
come
was
forward
there.
and answer the questions, please?
I don't have that contract with me, but to my recollection, I believe the incentives paid for a portion of the improvements that were made at the facility, and the majority of the incentives were for job creation. I don't believe there were any tax rebates, but they have fully paid everything that they received. And as part of today's item, you have a release that releases not only the city or Costa DC from an obligation, but also the company from any further obligations.
Thank you. Any further public comment on item F? If not, may I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept item F as presented.
Thanks. And a second by Lane. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Passes 7-0. We will now move into the regular agenda. Item A, presentation of Costa DC 2017 end-of-year report. And Roland, you are going to speak.
Mayor Gunter, members of the City Council, City Manager Valenzuela. My name is Roland Pena, Director of Economic Development for the City of San Angelo. This is an end-of-the-year report. We had a very successful year. This report is usually provided to you in the form of either an email or a Friday packet or a link. And we chose to make a presentation to you this year, and so we'll provide it in a different variety of ways, whatever pleases the council. Our success, though, because we did have a successful year, can be attributed to close collaboration with our economic development partners, and that does include the city departments. We work very closely with our city departments, and they are part of our team, although they may not be in the same facility. They help us, and I've got to give credit to the legal services department, who we keep very, very busy, and I have failed to mention them in the past, but they are critical to what we do, specifically making sure that we adhere to the sales tax law. Today's report will highlight some of our key accomplishments. For specific details, I'm going to ask that you turn to the program of work that's included in your packet. It's been slightly revised to accommodate some final numbers that came in late last week. The program at work does mention on page 2 guiding principles that we utilize. Our board of directors at Costa DC meets in January or February to begin planning sort of our strategic plan. We call it our program of work. And we arrive at directions from the board, and we put together these guiding principles, and I'll read these out for the benefit of the audience. To increase the tax base and reduce the tax burden on our residential taxpayers, to generate more sales tax revenues, and to improve wages and salaries, and to attract new businesses from higher skilled industries, to retain and expand existing businesses, and create and retain jobs. From that, we put together 6 strategies, and you'll hear those objectives here in a little bit. But to begin, let me introduce Michael Looney, the Vice President of Marketing and Recruitment for the Economic Development Division of the Chamber of Commerce, and then I'll come back and finish our report.
Good morning, Mayor, City Manager, City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present the year-end report. This is the Chamber of Commerce's year-end report from the Economic Development Division. I want to just kind of recap for those who may not be aware. The Chamber Economic Development Division partners with and is contracted by Costa DC to conduct marketing activities to recruit employers, attract new jobs, and increase capital investment in San Angelo. We target industries that are most compatible with San Angelo. We do a lot of prep work. We conduct San Angelo prospect tours, and we're a great resource to the prospects. And we also focus on relationship building. Relationship building is really the cornerstone of all economic development transactions. And to briefly overview on target marketing, we set a series of goals and have the results page here to the far right. Response packages and formal proposals. Response packages are thick packages that are filled with information about the market, about real estate needs, real estate holdings, real estate that these companies might want, employment needs. And we sent out 21 packages and 1 formal proposal. Formal proposal is where we actually make an offer to a company regarding incentives. And that was a company based in California. We hosted 11 companies in town. We had a goal of 5. We hosted 11, and we did 3 external visits, 1 to California and 2 within Texas. We were successful in recruiting 2 companies, Dragon PES, U.S. Well Services, which you may have read about in the paper. This resulted in 159 direct new jobs being created, 127 indirect jobs. Our goal was 100. We beat that by 59. Marketing, leasing, and sale of local sites. We marketed 20 sites throughout the course of 2017, and we were successful in assisting in the leasing of 2 and the sale of 1. The leasing of the 2 was U.S. Well Services, which is a company based in Houston. They have most of their equipment and their staff and their technicians up in the Marcellus Play, which is up in Ohio, Pennsylvania. They're presently moving a crew of 40 people from out of town and their families down to San Angelo. They're going to hire 6 people locally, and they ended up taking the Select Energy Services site, which had sat vacant for about 2 years out on Arden Road. Another successful transaction was Caron Transportation. This is a company that we've worked with very closely since they've been here since 2016. This is a company based out of Alberta. They're a frac sand hauling company. We worked with them on the expansion, going from a 2.5 acre facility on Jackrabbit Trail to taking down the former Globe Energy facility, which is 10 acres and has about a 21,000 square foot, very nice new facility. And that resulted in the hiring of approximately 30 people, mostly CDL drivers. And then the big news of the year was Dragon Products PES, which is a company based out of Beaumont, Texas. And we worked with them starting in July of last year, worked very closely with them and with the real estate broker out of Odessa who had the listing on the old NOV facility. This is a 117,000 square foot facility sitting on US 87, sits on 19.4 acres, and probably most of you are familiar seeing it. Very large facility. NOV abandoned that facility. They retained ownership, but they abandoned that facility approximately 2 years ago. And so the Chamber Marketing Department, we were very concerned about that. We wanted to see that property get back, put into service, and not sitting vacant. And so that was a very successful transaction. We did work very closely with the mayor's office on that, who has a relationship with Dragon as well. And it was a really good team effort, and so we were really successful in that. We have been commended by Dragon for our efforts. One of the big things about Dragon was workforce. We were in competition with another city in Texas, in the general region. And the big thing that their advanced team wanted to make sure that we knew is that they had to have proper workforce. They had hiring 125 people initially, possibly going up to 200 people by the end of 2018, early 2019. They're a steel fabrication company. They make trailers, they make tanks, they make compressors. They have another division that makes offshore drilling equipment. They have 22 locations throughout the United States. So this was a real win for San Angelo. But workforce was critical to them, and we made them very confident working with our partners at Contra Valley Workforce Solutions, who were awesome partners. They did a great job on helping us teach Dragon what we have available here from a training standpoint, from a workforce availability standpoint. And we were told at the end that's pretty much what sealed the deal. So we were really proud of that. Capital investment, total capital investment of these transactions, goal was $6 million. We came out to a calculated amount of $6.1 million. And the annual economic impact, Shannon Scott at COSA-DC runs our economic analyses, and she does our yield analyses. We had a goal of $25 million. We far exceeded that by doing $61.5 million in annual economic impact. These aren't 10-year or 3-year horizons. This is annual. And these were actually very conservative numbers. Other transaction successes, U.S. Well Services, which wasn't on the list previously, but RW Senior Housing Development, which at the time was coded Project Home Care. They announced in the paper that they're going to build a $10 million facility. It's about 48,000 square feet. And this is a skilled nursing facility. And council and the county both provided resolutions of support stating that there is an awareness that there is a need for another skilled nursing facility in San Angelo. And that's kind of rare to do. But that showed the helpfulness and the courage of the county and the city to put that forth. What that does is that virtually assures that the state will approve that project going forward. And so we've been in contact with them every couple of weeks. They are waiting on state approval. They feel very confident that it's going to come through any time now, probably in 45 to 60 days, somewhere in that bracket. This would be a creator of 90 new jobs. One of the neat things about this is that when we were working with RW, they wanted to know what kind of skilled nurses they could source within San Angelo. They really don't want to have to import them. They'd like to find them here, which is exactly what we want to do with Howard College with their LVN to RN program. And they actually sat down for a good hour and met with Howard College to discuss how they could create perhaps an internship program or an apprenticeship program with Howard College to encourage those students who are going in that LVN to RN program to seek employment at their facility. This is a very, very high-end facility. This is something that when we did the slideshow presentation, it looks like one of the nicest hotels you've ever seen. Karen Transportation, as I mentioned, international trucking company, created 30 new jobs for a $2.65 million capital investment. And then U.S. Well Services, which came in late in 2017. They already have leased the property. This is the Select Energy property. And so what's nice about that is you look back on the transactions, you've got Karen, you've got U.S. Well Services and Dragon. The total square footage is 156,000 square feet of commercial fabrication and industrial space that was sitting vacant at the beginning of the year and is now back in service. It's back in the tax rolls. You've got people working there, and they're alive again. And it was really tough driving down Arden Road, seeing these vacant facilities that are beautiful facilities, most built in 2014 during the boom. And so that was, we thought, a pretty good success. There's a little bit of information on Dragon products. It's 117,000 square feet, 125 new jobs. Current transactions, we're working on a project called Project Long Run. I know this isn't really a look back, but this is what was sparked during 2017. So Project Long Run is a Houston-based oil and gas company that we're speaking with. They have come to San Angelo, and we have had a meeting. Mayor Gunner assisted with that. Project Air, another one that Mayor Gunner helped us with, and then Project Mountain, which is a national infrastructure company. Skip that one. This is a list, a partial list of the marketed properties. These are the commercial properties and the industrial properties that we toured companies through. And of these 20, this is a list of the properties that we were successful in helping get leased or sold. And those are the 3 that I just mentioned, the 2 on Ardent and then the 1 on US 87, which is Dragon Products. In 2017, we launched the SARMA project, which you have a little pamphlet there in front of you. This is an organization that we felt should be created. This is this is actually our Manufacturers Association for San Angelo. San Angelo is a city that really has never had a true standalone Manufacturers Association. We have a database of 82 companies, approximately 115 individuals, several people within each company. These are all of the major manufacturers, fabricators, and energy service companies in San Angelo. We have monthly meetings. We have an advisory committee. And it has really taken off, and we really feel confident that this is going to change the way recruiting is done in San Angelo, because what we're doing is we're building trust relationships with these companies. If you look at a list of the different members of the Chamber of Commerce, we have 1,100 members. Very few of them are your fabricators, your manufacturers, and your energy service companies. And one of the reasons we think is probably because they are selling their products outside the region. They're going outside. They're not selling internally. So coming to chamber functions and meeting with other members might not be so critical to them because they're selling their products outside. And that's really what we want to do with manufacturing is we want to manufacture here, we want to export those products and import those dollars. Well, with the SARMA organization, it's creating a voice, a unity amongst the different manufacturers. The response has been outstanding, and we're really, really excited about what we see going on with that organization. We're going to host a monthly meeting. We've already done 4, and then we also host a quarterly social at different locations. So the last one we had was at West Texas Industrial Engines, very well attended. And it's really good to see the networking because you see a lot of collaboration amongst these companies. We talk about workforce needs. We talk about logistics needs. They want to get involved with our highway system, with our rail system, with training, with apprenticeship programs, with internship programs. And these are the people who are really going to help make our economy better. They want to participate. In fact, Angelo State University's engineering department is a member of this group, along with Howard College. They want to be a part of helping train young people in this area to go on to the next level and work for them. Because like a lot of companies in this region, they're struggling for people who have skills and who have soft skills and technical skills. And so they recognize that industry, married with education, is really going to be a foundational cornerstone of the health of our economy. We've also produced the first of 4 video series. CVB at the Chamber does an awesome job of producing videos along with the city and Anthony's group. We wanted to produce a series of industrial videos so that companies outside the region and even companies inside the area can understand what it is that we make in San Angelo. What is it that we do? And when you really start to bore down into it, it's absolutely fascinating how many companies make so many different products right here at home in San Angelo. We're going to be launching through the SARMA a primary employers business survey. This is going to be a manufacturer's survey where we're going to help them understand what it is that the city can do for them. For example, DRC, permitting, roadway and highway and rail infrastructure advocacy. And we're going to produce that survey, and we're going to deliver, of course, that data back to the city so that we can all understand what our primary employers, what our manufacturers' needs are. This is a slide that Roland's going to talk about, and it's got all kinds of graphs and stuff on it. So, Roland, I'm going to let you come up here and talk about this one, because this wasn't on my presentation. But I'm free to answer any questions now, or I can hang out after the meeting, whatever you'd like to do. Yes, ma'am.
I think Lucy has some comments or questions.
I just wanted to ask you, Mr. Looney, on that RW Senior Housing Development, where's that going to be built at?
Don't know yet. They're still they're going to, once they get state approval, then they're going to engage local real estate professionals to find out where the best sites are.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? It's an exciting year, and this year's already shaping up to be just as good, so. Congratulations. Thank you. Very well.
Michael, I want to thank you and Heather and the rest of the chamber. The 2017 has turned out to be a wonderful year for the city of San Angelo and our economic development efforts. So thank you. Continue. I know we have a lot of opportunity and a lot of contacts that we'll be able to make some new announcements over the next few weeks. And we look
we do.
forward to that.
Thank you very
And
much.
of course, the mayor didn't turn off her cell phone, so what can I say?
Nobody was going to mention that. Mayor.
I take full responsibility.
I've spoken to many of you over the course of 2017, usually at 9 o'clock at night, Harry. I want to thank you all for your support too. And we really look at this not like a contractor going out and scouting out companies and then bringing back the wares. It's a team effort. It's a team effort with Costa DC. It's a team effort with the city and with you as well and the Costa DC board members. So again, wanted to make sure that I acknowledge that.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Roland?
You're on.
Thanks. So just to echo what Michael just said, it is a team effort, and I know that in the audience we have Mike Buck with Workforce Development Board. He's another partner. We are missing, and of course Heather's out there with the chamber, but we're missing ASU and SBDC. They're an excellent partner. And Jamie Rainey with Howard College, so that's good. I also want to recognize our economic development staff. Bob Schneeman, he's not here today because he's sick. I call him the Texas Ranger of our department because he's so tall. But let me recognize Nora Navarez, and Shannon Scott, and Sarah Lamog. They're over there. Stand up so everybody can see you. There you go. Every one of our staff members is cross-trained, so I'm going to be talking about the achievements. They all played a role in the achievements. We are unique, and every one of the departments is degreed, and we try to do cross-training and continuous education. Let me talk about business retention and expansion. The objective here is to assist the development of local expansion projects. These new projects, along with projects currently underway, will help create new jobs and retain existing jobs. If you look at the chart that's on display now, you'll see particular attention to the direct jobs. These are specific direct jobs created by a specific project, or it could be specific retained jobs created by a specific project. The indirect jobs are the spinoff. That's part of the economic impact. Primary jobs, primary employers create an economic impact, which is what you saw in some of the slides that Michael had earlier. Local industry support. You may wonder, why do we have that? So from time to time, we get asked to write letters of support to help our existing businesses. Sometimes in advocacy, maybe perhaps we're advocating something that'll help their business. Maybe it's a public policy issue. But let me give you just a few examples of what we did last year. SBDC wanted to submit a nomination for Small Business Person of the Year. And so they asked letters from the partners, and that yielded Brian Vincent being recognized at a state conference in San Antonio. And he was recognized as the Small Business Person of the Year for a huge geographical territory in the state of Texas. I think goes from El Paso to San Antonio to South Texas. So that was a big win for us because it's someone from San Angelo, Texas. In addition, we had letters of support written in most recent, the Goodfellow Air Force Base grant to the governor's office. Costa DC's participation of $1.5 million in addition to the letter of support is yielding an $8.8 million project for the expansion of missions here at Goodfellow Air Force Base. We wrote a letter of support to the San Angelo Area Foundation for the construction trades program, and that yielded $74,000 from the Health Foundation. Costa DC, as you saw in your consent, also participated by providing $168,000, and then Workforce Development also added their matching to that. The Home Builders Association added $500,000, so we're close to almost $800,000 by working together and collaborating. We also wrote a letter of support to the Wagner Pizer, this really coming from the Texas Workforce Commission, and they gave us $161,000 to continue our efforts to certify our workforce. This is the second year that we do this. Last year, we received $150,000 for that effort. Also, at the bottom of the chart, you'll see an appreciation event. This is something that we do specifically for our businesses. We held one in April. I believe Tommy was there before he ran for city council, for those who we have an economic development performance agreement with. So those BREP projects that we had an economic development agreement with, we invited to this appreciation dinner, and it was well received. In November, we did another appreciation dinner for those developers, companies that have invested, and or investors that are looking at the industrial park, and that was also very well received. Here's the result of what the prior slide, annual economic impact of $138 million. Our goal was 40. So that's pretty impressive. We're seeking a $15 million in capital investment from these performance agreements, and we received $22 million. Entrepreneurial, our objective here is to support entrepreneurship and new business development by growing the client base in the business incubator, which we call the Business Factory, and utilizing the Business Resource Center as intended, and supporting the business plan competition. I want to thank you for your support, because it starts at the top. You have created this philosophy, and we tell that to almost all the businesses, especially those that are startup, that we have the support from the City Council and Costa DC to look at creating from within, growing from within our community, taking those innovative ideas and turning them into businesses. We started a business plan competition. We start planning for that around June. We make the announcement in October, and then all the work begins as we're marketing that business plan competition. The winners are announced in April, but there's really only a gap, I'd say, from May to June to kind of rest and rethink what we're going to do in terms of a strategy. The last 2 years, we've received about 60 applications for the business plan competition. We closed the deadline to submit your overview yesterday, and I think we received about 14 applications. So those are the 14 that are going to be moving forward. We also have a commitment, and I guess it's important to say, everything that we do with the sales tax dollars, these are taxpayer funds, and we, as good stewards, we look for a public purpose. And what you're seeing as we're all talking, we're looking what that public purpose result is going to be, and we look at it in the terms of new jobs being created, the retention of jobs, new capital investment. We have an investment at the Business Resource Center in which we wanted to create and follow the original intention, create an activity to let businesses know that there's a resource there. We wanted to increase that activity by 10%, and we achieved that. However, in terms of events, in terms of people, we didn't have quite the amount of people that came through the doors, but that's okay. There's always room for improvement. This is perhaps one of the best telling charts with regard to the business incubator. The far left bar, that's the tiniest bar, is the contribution by Costa DC in terms of how many dollars or what kind of dollars we put into that initiative. But the larger charts have to do with sales revenue by year and payroll revenue by year. Just to give you an idea, since inception, $55.2 million in cumulative gross sales revenue has been generated. $33 million in cumulative gross payroll has been generated, and 535 jobs have been created and retained. Here's a picture of the business plan competition winners from last year. Workforce development. Our objective here is to support the development of training and workforce certifications, ensuring an educated, trained, and skilled workforce for business and industry. We wanted to know that this is the second year of support for the RN program, and it's been such a successful program that it has been recognized. Not only did we receive recognition at the Board of Nursing, but we also received recognition at the Texas Economic Development Conference in Plano. We received the Workforce Excellence Award in the category of 100,000 population to 250,000 population. And you can look right now on the website and look and Google that and look at the TEDC website, and you'll see San Angelo as the winner of that award. Y'all recognized it here before a large audience, and so we're very grateful for that award. Also, each year we try to seek a partnership with ASU or Howard College to look at another initiative, another program to help continue to build our workforce development. This year we teamed up with the Home Builders Association and Howard College to initiate the construction trades program. The home builders identified the need, and anytime there's a need, we try to support, and we're very successful at collaboration and drawing up the funds, and we're excited about, and I'm sure Jamie is excited about it too. We think that class begins, I think, in April of this year. I want to talk about the Tom Green County Work Ready Community. This is an effort that we embarked on about a year ago, and we have a steering committee that's made up of the private sector in addition to government, the city, COSA DC, workforce development, and the county. In fact, we needed the county's participation, and we took it to the county judge as an initiative that is happening all over the country. There's over 22 states that have certified their state's workforce or counties and created a work-ready community. He loved it, and we called it a program of second chances because it does create a credential that those who have no credential can utilize. Let me show you the numbers. We have 108 employers participating in this program, 578 people in the workforce who are transitioning. This could be people that are coming out of the military, or they're changing career tracks, or perhaps they're coming out of incarceration. But these are folks who are now carrying a credential that is mobile and they can take to any state, and employers are recognizing this credential. Currently in the workforce, there's 347 that have taken the assessment and have this credential. Emerging workforce, which I think is just as vital and as important, are 272 students from our ISDs that have assessed and tested. They've also assessed at ASU and Howard College. This is important because we had no other tool that we could provide specific data to an employer who's trying to locate in San Angelo, and if they're asking, what can you do for me? I need to hire 300 software developers. Who has the skills? Well, we have a credential and we have the data that'll prove that they have transferable skills and can be utilized as software developers. We used the Wagner-Pizer and are currently using the Wagner-Pizer grant now of $161,000 to help us provide these certifications free to businesses and those that can't afford it. We've been so successful at this program that we were asked by ACT to present at the ACT Workforce Summit in November. And so we took our team along with Gregg County. Gregg County was the first county to get certified in the state of Texas. And Tom Green County becomes the second county in the state of Texas to receive that certification. We were honored to accept that invitation, and we provided lessons learned and provided the knowledge of how to begin and what needs to happen to be able to certify your workforce and to create a collaborative effort in your community. Now we're moving into the region, because those regional numbers of workforce are also important. One day we're going to land, Michael Looney's going to bring an employer that's going to be looking for 2,000 employees or 3,000 employees, and we're going to need that regional workforce to also be certified. And Site Selector magazine mentions that there's one commonality amongst those states who are able to make these plant locations in their community, and that is a certified workforce. So we saw this as very important to our recruitment efforts. We'll talk about infrastructure and capital investment. Our objective was to provide support to projects and site locations where business development has the potential for high economic impact. Now, we don't own tiers in our department. We just provide the resource, administrative services. We do a lot of the marketing. We do the negotiations for the performance agreements. This really is housed under development services, but we're a resource to development services. Perhaps this is a good way to show the community what TIERS has done. 16 agreements were signed in this past year, and that yielded $2.2 million of additional capital investments in our community. 8 of those agreements were in the north, and South had 8 agreements as well. In addition, we continue to be involved in I-14 and I-27. We believe that those have some hope and promise for some future infrastructure for our community in terms of highways and transportation. We did sign 2 development agreements. This one was very unique for us in that we for the first time, utilized dollars to provide a loan, a $20,000 loan to Zimmerman Properties. And the only reason we did it was because it was innovative. It was a way to be able to help them achieve those tax credits and score higher to be able to develop affordable housing in our community. So with that, we were able to yield $10 million of capital investment on 18 acres and 72 units for our community. Another good example is Cosa DC provided $100,000, and we worked with the city and did an MOU with the city to assist Tom Green County for their $50 million project. It will provide additional sewer main services to the eastern portion of Phase 2 and the northern portion of Phase 3 of our industrial park. That provides cost savings for us now, and in the future will yield some future capital investments in the form of new facilities at the industrial park. Also want to mention, and not to forget, because this is what you need to be looking for in the future, $3.5 million is what Cosa DC has committed to leverage what could be anywhere between $18 to $26 million of new improvements on Chadburn. Also, we're applying for an EDA agreement of $1.2 million that Cosa DC has committed to leverage a $3.2 million of infrastructure improvements that'll help AEP, which has a capital investment. We're expecting about $14 million and future capital investments in Phase 2. All total, that's about $90 million that I've just rattled. Also, just as important, in June, we received an AEP quality site designation from a contracted engineer and architect firm, and they've prepared a report to determine the suitability for industrial development, and they have all the site imagery and screening report for all that land at the airport. So any future investor, any future company that is looking, we now have the data to be able to provide that information. It's information that Lou now has in his hands that he can utilize to potentially market the airport property. That concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Do I have any questions from council? Thank you for the presentation. The information is terrific, and let's hope 2018 produces the same positive results that we've had in 2017. Thank you, Roland.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Roland. Thanks, Roland.
We will now go to item B, consider ratifying Cosa DC's approval of a resolution authorizing the board president to execute a memorandum of understanding with Tom Green County providing local matching funds for the fall 2017 DEAA grant in support of the Goodfield Air Force Base Training Mission Project.
Council, this is our second grant that we pursue in terms of a county. The county, on behalf of Goodfield Air Force Base, submitted to the governor's office a request for $4.5 million. As part of that request, you have to have local matching funds. I've already mentioned Cosa DC has provided 1.5. The difference comes from federal funds that Goodfellow is providing, with the exception of nearly $767,000 that will come from the community. Mike Boyd's not here, but his intention, or at least the intention of the steering committee that's been working on this project, is to seek those $767,000 from the San Angelo Area Foundation. This item is specifically for you to ratify a memorandum of understanding between Costa DC and Tom Green County. Tom Green County does serve as the fiscal agent and the project manager of this project. Again, the total amount of the project would be $8.8 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I think you said the San Angelo Area Foundation. I believe that's the San Angelo Health Foundation.
That's correct. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Correct. Thanks for the correction.
Do I have any questions from council?
Just a comment, Brenda.
Sure.
Partnerships are key to the success of many of our economic investments in this particular community. And Goodfellow certainly is an employer that we want to keep fully funded wherever we can. So I appreciate Costa DC, the Health Foundation, the county, and all of the partners coming together on this workforce solutions so that we can ensure that Goodfellow stays a vibrant economic driver in this city.
I just want to remind everybody of what that money is going to be used for. The money was proposed and will be used to expand the number of classroom space. And because of the new missions that will be coming to San Angelo in 2018, it would also include expansion of the dining room facility to accommodate those missions. So with that, San Angelo should see some great impact from the additional missions. Goodfellow represents 10% of our employment in this city, so we believe that this will continue to increase and impact our city.
And a huge economic impact for the entire city, but also the region. So I'd move approval of the resolution, Mayor.
A second? May I have some public comment? Yes, come forward.
Ginger Moore, and I am a resident of San Angelo. And I was at Goodfellow Air Force Base for 28 years. I worked with the international students, running programs for them and helping Terry Garreau with the students. We only had about 30-some students at that particular time. Now, the students that are coming in will be about 150, according to the material that I read. Also, we have them coming from 32 countries. Now, I would like to know which countries those are. I did work with students, and I do understand that they come from a different culture. And also, I'd like to know if they're bringing their families, because if they do, then your social services, your police department, and some of your other your school district and anything else may be impacted by this. I'm just having questions on this because we do have a city that is expanding, and we just need to know if we're going to have the social services to take care of that. So that would be my question. The other question I have is on the funding because, as I said, I worked with military for many years, and we had a lot of money that we spent on different projects. So I understand that this is part of the grant. So you have to have the 1.5 million in order to get the grant. And I think to expand, that's wonderful. To get more employers and employees in is wonderful. But I just I caution that we need to be careful on some of this because the 32 countries are probably mostly from the Middle East, I'm guessing. So, and there are some issues with that. So I would just make that public comment. And thank you for your service.
Thanks, Ginger. Do I have further public comment?
Steve Hampton. I would, before I start, I would like to say that I come often to this podium and sound grumpy and critical, but this last report that we just heard from the COSA DC and the Chamber of Commerce was one of the best that I've just about ever heard as far as affecting the community and the growth. And I don't know who exactly, they say it's a team effort, and I hope so. I think that's great. And Mayor, I think that you probably played a great part in that.
Mayor. we're actually off topic. That's not this particular item.
But it continues in this follow-up item about affecting growth, and I think it's a pretty good situation, and I stand in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Further public comment? If there's no further public comment, we will take a vote on approving the memorandum of understanding. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item C, first reading and public hearing of an ordinance naming a new street, quote, Sherwood Way Service Road, end of quote, constructed by the Texas Department of Transportation and dedicated by transfer of right-of-way to the city of San Angelo, located west of the 5500 block of Sherwood Way in West San Angelo. John?
Thank you. John James, Director of Planning and Development Services. As you may recall, this stretch of road through here along the Houston Hart was called the Houston Hart Frontage Road. When TxDOT redid the project for Sherwood Way, they basically eliminated that frontage road, and what they did was create this new road. And of course, here is the HEB, sort of.
Maybe angled a little bit different.
And so what, of course, here's Sherwood Way. And so this new street is now, TxDOT has given it over to the city, so it's become a city street. And so it needs a name, and Houston Hart Expressway Frontage Road does not make sense any longer. And so we looked at the Sherwood Way Service Road as the name. There's another location down Sherwood Way, actually not too far from the other HEB, where there is a service road that's a parallel road to the main lanes of Sherwood Way, and it is also called the Sherwood Way Service Road, and so that gives some consistency to this.
Will there be any confusion because of that?
No, that we ran that by our 911 folks, and in fact, any street naming or renaming gets reviewed by police and fire, 911, all of those folks. Part of the reason that doesn't create any issue is all of these properties are addressed off of Sherwood Way, so there will actually be no properties with an address of Sherwood Way Service Road. They'll be addressed off of Sherwood, so that should not create any issues from that standpoint.
We didn't have to think outside the box too hard on that coming up with a name, did we?
No. We did send out notices to the affected property owners. HEB responded in favor. We did not receive any other responses. And so staff recommends approval. This did go to the Planning Commission. They also recommended approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do I have questions from council?
Make a motion that we approve the name change.
Thanks, Billy. A second? Second. A second by Lane. Any public comment? Anybody recommending another name? With no public comment, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the new name Sherwood Way Service Road, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
I was thinking about opposing it, but I'll let it slide this time.
You can only do that if you had a new name.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's going to be Tom's Road right there.
Yes, our next item D is discussion of the 2018 and 2023 capital improvement plan preparation. And Tina, I believe you're on.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Mayor, council members, Mr. Valenzuela. I'm here to talk about our annual capital improvement plan update. As you know, this plan is updated annually and spans a 5-year period, so our next CIP will cover the fiscal years 2018 through 2023. The total cost for an item to be included in this must be at least $25,000. The useful life must be greater than 3 years, and it would require 6 or more months for the project for completion. We have 103 total projects underway or proposed to begin by 2023. $417 million in total project costs either have been incurred in the past or will be incurred in the future for those projects. And there are 115 projects in our future projects listing, which is outside of that 5-year period, at a total of $347 million.
You want to explain that in terms of funded or unfunded
Yes,
so that
ma'am.
everybody understands?
So of the projects that have been submitted to us by directors, we ask them at the time that they submit that to tell us whether it is funded or unfunded. And according to our directors, we have 70 funded projects, totaling $339 million in total project costs.
Did you say 7 or 70?
70.
7.
We did have a public forum. It was held January 18th here at the Convention Center. And so we invited the public to come and talk to us and tell us what they think we need in our city and what kind of projects they would like to see. We also do have a survey online at cosatx.us/CIP input. We still encourage people to go on there and fill out that survey and tell us what they'd like to see in their city. We will have a cutoff for the next council meeting, but it is still open at this time. And on February 20th, we will have a public hearing for adoption by the City Council. The purpose of the item today is to give you an opportunity to give feedback and to make any suggestions prior to us bringing that back on the 20th.
When I read the information that was sent to us, thank you, what I found encouraging is that probably in excess of 60% were comments on the need to get Bell Street redone. And the good news is Bell Street is going to get redone, and that the work has been done by engineering. It's obviously still looking at the bids that came in.
Well, the bids came in, of course, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit later because those bids did come in a little bit higher than anticipated. So, but again, it is a project that is a priority for us that somehow will get done. There's no way that it won't. But again, we'll be addressing the funding for that here in probably the next meeting as well.
So that was encouraging, and I think the other thing that was encouraging was the number of comments on Avenue P. I know that there was a public forum last night, and that once again that the land that is needed to create the ponds and the work that needs to be put in place has been done. So I think the Avenue P issues are shortly going to be addressed as well.
Very good. It was a very good meeting.
With that said, obviously there's new and continued work that needs to be done, but those two projects are in the works, and I think that addresses a lot of the issues that are in that capital improvement plan or things that people brought forward. Do I have other comments from council? Okay, so, oh yes, Tommy.
I want to ask Teresa a question first in terms of appropriateness as per the agenda on a comment with respect to perhaps what might be added to a future question or questions to the actual CIP. Is it appropriate to make those at this point in time? You know, looking through the list, I agree with what the mayor said. 60% of them were related to Bell Street, but probably equally as many were related to streets and drainage issues. I wonder if there should be a question perhaps on there that would give folks an opportunity. You know, when you hear the term capital improvement plan, I wonder if this really isn't more of a capital improvement list, because there's really not a plan here, and it may not be misleading to the public, but I wonder if it is. It may be confusing that, you know, if you get it on the plan, then at some point it's going to be taken care of. So I wonder if there could be a question. Y'all could talk through this internally about would the citizens want to see a focus on what appears to be the priorities, which are streets, things under the streets, the water and sewer lines, as well as drainage issues. It just seems like rather than that way, maybe just anything that's in excess of $25,000 and taking longer than 6 months and so forth, that it may give a little clearer definition to what the priorities really are. Because it seems like the priorities may be streets, under the streets, and
And I
drainage.
think that's a good question and or comment. We have actually discussed that a little bit internally with Michael. We do plan to make changes next year based on some feedback that we've received from the public as well.
I think one of the other issues, if we could, as we revamp or relook at how we ask for information and organize information, is that certainly it becomes based off of where I live mentality, and rightfully so, because where you live is important to you in terms of what might happen in that district. So two things I would see is, number one, prioritization, 1, 2, or 3, giving somebody an opportunity to say number 1 in my mind, number 2, number 3 in terms of importance, but also to try to look at it in the single member district point of view, because if you live in the Bluffs area, you're going to have certain specific things that would address that issue versus perhaps those off of Foster Road and et cetera. So, you know, when you take a look at it, they're very citizen-specific. I live here. These are the issues in my area versus issues that are big-picture issues in the city of San Angelo. So I think we need to get more defined in terms of how we ask for the information, how we organize the information, and present it.
Sure. We'll definitely keep that in mind moving forward.
Okay.
Mayor, I will
Thank
say
you.
that we've taken baby steps. Last year we had 168 submissions
Yes.
online, and this year we have over what? I think
800?
800 at this point. We're hopefully about 1,000 by the time we finish this thing.
Yeah.
But it's Mayor Tommy, good points. I think at this point what we're doing, of course, is sharpening the pencil, and we'll get it as we keep
Hope to
going.
make
We'll make
improvements
it much
every year.
better. Absolutely.
And we know that just because it's listed on this doesn't mean there's funding now or a plan for future. So
That's right.
to Tommy's point, it's about the idea that something needs to be done. It does not mean it's going to be on the top priority or a funded issue. So we want to make sure everybody understands submission is not funding.
Yes, ma'am, that's true. And I want to point out that each page in the plan tells whether the item is funded or not funded. And
Yes.
so we do point that out in there as well.
Thank you.
You're
Tina,
welcome.
before you leave,
Oh,
Mayor,
I'm not finished.
She's
just a
more-
real,
I'm just getting
just a real
started.
quick comment, or question, I guess. That is this CIP plan available to the public out on the city's website?
Yes, sir, it is.
Well, I want
The
to make
draft
sure
is
that
on
they
there.
understand that they can get to that so that they can look at whether it's funded or not funded.
Absolutely. I'm
Okay.
glad that you brought that up.
Go
Thank
ahead
you.
and continue your
Okay.
presentation.
So at our public forum on the 18th, we did have a few citizens bring up items that they would like us to address. One of them was Parkview Lake, which is a privately owned property, but it does have a potential for public purpose, and so we wanted to at least make you aware of that. River Valley Lane and Foster Road also came up, the drainage issues there. Brentwood Park, and then the Fort Concho roof replacements. Our annual survey, which we've already talked about, was launched on the 5th. We had 18 submissions at a 395% increase over the prior year. Both project votes and text responses were received, and I think we have submitted those text responses to you for your review as well. Give you a graphic representation of how people were voting for quality of life projects. The splash pad was the biggest one there that people were interested in seeing. For street projects, the drainage at Foster Road and reconstruction of College Hills from the Loop 306 to Avenue N were big ones. Of course, I do believe that the reconstruction of College Hills is already in the plan for the next round of bond issue. Public safety projects, animal shelter improvements were the biggest item there, so at almost 33%. And then for water projects, the water treatment plant improvements were the biggest item that came in there. So that is now all I have.
Tina,
Unless you have any questions for me.
Do I have any further comment or questions from council for Tina? Thank you, Tina. It's a good presentation.
Thank you.
All right, so we now move into follow-up and administrative issues, consideration of approving various board nominations, Planning Commission Ryan Smith, SMD 4, to a second term ending January 2021. May I have a motion for that? Lucy?
Make a motion to approve it.
And a second.
Second.
Tommy? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes 7-0. 7B is announcements and consideration of future agenda items. Are there any from council? Lane, looks like you want to speak.
Presentation and update from John James on the planning software, kind of to see how far along we are and to completion on that, and getting it up and rolling.
Lucy, did you have?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I do not.
Anybody else? Okay, with that, may I have a motion for adjournment?
Moved.
A second? We have completed the city council agenda on February the 6th at 9:44 a.m.